What's below Men at Work? That one looks familiar too.
That one is also Rick Springfield, the greatest hits. And we got Freddie Fender. I don't know who that is.
Classic Freddie Fender.
Lionel Richie, we got Queen,
70s country.
Sting and the Police, some George Strait, Aerosmith.
Hey, I gotta rejoin again. Hold on a second, sorry.
It's funny you mentioned Prince, Purple Rain. Was listening to When Doves Cry the other day, and people don't realize there's no bass on that song. He recorded it without bass, but you don't miss it. It's just so well done.
Legend. I saw him. He popped onto a stage at the Varick in New York at like 3 a.m. and just played for like 4 hours all night long, and it was just amazing.
My business partner, that was like his hero, and he there was one night he was like, he grew up in Gary, Indiana, and one night he was sitting he was at the movie theater watching the movie, and he told his girlfriend, like, I'm gonna go work with Prince. And the next week he actually broke up with his girlfriend because she didn't believe, like, she looked at him like he was an idiot. And so the next
I'm sorry
week,
to interrupt you, but we have Andrew just for an hour, so I'd like to suggest to start our panel session. So we are going to start our one of the most important panel discussion on BitCloud strategies for artists. We have today William Laurent, Christina Millimeters, Clay Perry, and Andy Artz. So please welcome our speakers, and I am giving the floor to Christina.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for providing this platform for us to have a conversation. And hi, Andy. Haven't met you yet, but it's nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Good to meet you, Christina.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for being here, all of you guys. We're just going to have a conversation. My idea when Alex approached me about having a panel was, how can we help, emerging artists and new creators, people who are, either have been on the platform maybe for the whole 100 days, but don't exactly understand all the strategies and the nuances involved, or also people who are just coming on now and people who will be coming on in the future, and just sort of, giving just a conversation really about what we can do to help them succeed, and all the stuff that they just don't understand, like the things that I've spent the past 100 days trying to figure out. And I'm starting to get a handle. Yeah, I know you guys have it, but things like that. So I'll leave the floor open. We can just sort of talk openly and see how we can do that.
Yeah, totally. I think sometimes we forget all of us have been on the platform since the early days, and how much acquired knowledge that lives in our brains about just not even the relationships we form, but just the nuances of the platform and how steep of a learning curve it is.
It is. I feel like I've had, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like I've, had a master class in, just all of these things, and I still am just starting to grasp it. But, okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things right now that a lot of people coming in, even like the new people, can't really tell, is that we're also still figuring it out, even now, where it's like you see the tide change like every week. It almost feels like lately. And some weeks are busier than others. Some weeks it's like a valley that we're in. And depending on when you come in, like, it could probably look a lot different.
Definitely. And
yeah, there's still with NFTs coming, with some of the other changes coming, there's so many angles that we have not even thought about. There's going to be paradigm shifts. There's going to be gamification. There's going to be things that, in a couple of weeks we'll be talking about, wow, our strategy is totally changed, or our perception is totally changed. So it's been it's been 100 days. Wow. Yeah. It's been 100 days. Amazing. Yeah.
I guess one question I want to ask you, Andy, is, so being that I know you're so in the investment side of things, like it's all data driven, or there's so much of it that's data driven. Are you really into the data when it comes to these creator coins, or are you just having fun? Like, how do you look at this stuff?
I'm having fun. I think, it's interesting, just the four of us here on the call. Uh, we all come from wildly different backgrounds, and yet this platform's brought us together. So someone asked me the other day, do I view myself as an investor or creator? Uh, some weird combination of both. The way I create is through, I'm an analyst, basically. At the end of the day, I analyze businesses. And so I'm just trying to apply some of that knowledge to creator coins to see if there's any rhyme or reason to it. And hopefully something will turn up eventually and something will be useful to someone out there.
In
I
3
think
months,
it's
do you
really
feel like there is a
useful.
lot do you feel like there is a lot of correlation in the first 3 months?
Between creator coin prices and activity, I haven't seen anything that's very meaningful. The only correlation is age of your account on the platform. The longer you spend on the platform, the more followers you get. It's
Most
not really
definitely.
correlated to coin price, but that's something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, I was wondering like early on if there was going to be more correlation to, even reading charts and stuff like that is completely useless at this time. Like there's nothing to really track. Yeah, I figured you'd say that, but I was curious.
yeah, I saw Andy had posted some data visualizations, which I thought was pretty cool. He had a scatter plot, and there's so much that we can do right now with data visualization and just scraping the chain and being able to throw up whether it's scatter plots or histograms or whatever. So, I'm a data geek. I thought that was pretty cool. Where you had things mapped out on X and Y. I don't remember what it was. I think it was coin price and loquaciousness. But I thought that was really cool because I've seen Andy's been on several of these types of calls, and he gets the question a lot, like, what do you look for in creator coins? What do you want to invest in? And I think him showing some data visualizations sort of took that to the next level, at least from me. I thought that was cool. I mean, there's a great idea right there. Someone with analytics or data science background to provide some kind of service, data visualization service, and maybe it's inside Prosper Cloud or maybe it's external, but scrape the chain and start showing these cool visualizations, right?
But then
Yeah,
also explain what they mean for the rest of us, right? Who aren't data geeks.
like the
Because otherwise
HHI
they're just like,
score.
they're beautiful images, but I don't know what they mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's the whole with the creator coin analysis and even with what Andy had there. It's like, well, do I discard the outliers, or are the outliers trying to tell me something? Like what intelligence can I get from here? I think it's fascinating. We have so much data that we could work with, and I'm waiting for a really hotshot data scientist to come along and take things to the next level. I think it'd be really helpful for the platform.
Yeah, I'm with you. I remember one of the first creators I backed was this person named XAM who started releasing some early visualizations. I was really excited. Unfortunately, I think they left the platform or have sort of been in hibernation for a while. But yeah, we would love to see more of that out there.
That's the thing that, in my head, I'm thinking like the data that I would want is, to try to crack like what's the equation for sustainability in some ways. Like how can you really track what's going to be sustainable and what's not? And then that's the wild card that you brought up, Art, so someone can have a bad day or a bad experience and be done. And then it's like that equation means nothing. Like there's nothing to go off of there.
Yeah,
Social media is a whole other beast.
there was a account yesterday. I think it was Reputations who posted about they're leaving the platform. You saw this, and that I was bummed out after reading that because that you mentioned sustainability. That's where my mind went about, and I feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes posting some of these charts because the minute I posted that loquaciousness score of how many replies you had in the last 14 days, someone said my goal for the next 14 days is to get 500 replies. And I had another chart that said something about HHI score, and someone said, okay, I need to like sell some of my coins to game. So I think the minute that we set a metric, it can be very powerful for people to optimize for. So it's but sustainability, that's such a great like concept that I don't think is talked about enough on the platform.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
Like even on your mental health, like you have to be like I've seen it take a toll on even myself. Like at times where it's like you have to sleep, you have to like, and at the same time, like you do if you really want to be successful, you have to find ways to drive numbers. And
Right, because you got the call that never stops.
yeah, I've had
Yeah.
to like it's been an experiment. It's been a huge like teaching moment, just as far as like one, like what my level and limit is, but then at the same time, I think that's a bit like creating projects that go beyond you and like really serve a need are another good way to be sustainable though, because they keep moving even when you're not. And so I think that's important. Whether it's art or whatever it is.
Sorry. I have a question for you. What, like when you're scrolling, I assume, do you just like go on and just like scroll the global feed and see what's going on and like check people out? What like jumps out to you as exciting? Like, what is it like when you're like, ooh, like this is cool? Like just like on a instinct level without the data, just like the first punch, right? Because you need that before you even look at the data, I imagine.
Is it a question for me?
Yeah, it's for you. Or for anyone really. But
yeah, I guess I started notifications. I don't know if that's vain or not, and I just like to see what's up, and if anyone's messaged me or said anything. That's tough because the worst part about notifications is you can comment, like if you can reply to a comment on a notification, no problem. But if I click through on it, sometimes accidentally, and then I want to go back, I lose my place in the feed, and it's like I want them to fix that so badly.
That's one of my pet peeves too.
And you can't on desktop, you can't control click or like right click open a new tab, right? So like whenever I click on the thing, we all struggle with this. It's like, oh god, I would love to just open up a bunch of tabs.
The Mac app solves that problem for me. Like you can
does it?
Yeah, on your notifications, it'll take you back as far as you want to go.
And you can jump out of your notifications and come back to the spot where you left off.
You can't come back to the spot where you left off. That is one of the things.
So you have to scroll all the way back down.
It kills me.
Yeah, the things we put up with. So I start there, then I guess jumped out. Fan art's super cool. Like people create really interesting art. The bot bet stuff was really interesting. Memes machine, when we had the BitClout Boys memes competition. I love memes and native memes, so those are fun.
Yeah.
Any posts that I'm a sucker for the native BitClout content. I know there's been a lot of chat about, we need to move away from that, but
I still think it's so early. Like it's just natural where we're at. Like I see this as like a developer space more than like a creator space right now, and I feel like you're gonna get those type of memes, like because it's builders on the platform we're on. Like, just makes sense.
A lot of inside jokes and
it's like it makes sense.
Yeah.
It all comes with the territory. Like I think like that's one of the things a lot of people are getting frustrated like with where things are, but I think they're just overestimating like where we're at right now. I think that we're just at exactly where we're supposed to be, and it's not like gonna be some get rich quick scheme or anything like that. Like it's gonna take time to it's like Art said, the longer you're here, the trajectory just continues to go up, and you just have to be consistent and wait your time. All of us have to wait our time.
For me, the one metric for sustainability is looking at followers, because that is directly related to engagement. Unless you come on a platform with a ton of money that you're just throwing around, right? Then people are going to follow you. But followers also, I'll go, deep if I'm interested in investing a little bit in somebody. Like, okay, so if they're getting diamonds, if they're getting some small monetization, is that going back into their coin? Are they putting the money back? Are they dollar cost averaging back into their coin, right? So I think, those are really, really important things that sort of jump out, that it says, well, this person really is here for the long term. They really do want to build up the equity in themselves.
William, what tools do you use to look at whether they're buying back in and sort of the history of that account?
I mean, Prosper Clout will only give you like the last 10. I
Yeah.
don't remember the Big Clout Pulse, or I don't recall, like I have a whole bunch of bookmarks, but you can sort of see like what's going on. And even to look at the last 10 purchases to see if, okay, they're putting in $3 here, $2 here. If it's not a high priced coin, you can sort of correlate, oh, that's what they're doing. They got some diamonds and they're putting that money back in. So yeah, I was gonna ask Andy, like, as far as sustainability, what his take on is on the flip side, the sustainability of the whales, right? So like, people that have come on the platform and done a lot of investing, and then that have sort of gone dormant now, right? Or that have sort of pulled their investments out of creator coins and either taken it off the platform or put in a wallet. Like where do we see, like, is there going to be like multiple rounds and like another round of whales, or is like that, like big bang is over? Like, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, Andy, on that whole, like, I don't know, the future of whales on the platform.
When's the next whale season?
Are they extinct?
Exactly. When's the next yeah, exactly. Thank you.
They're swimming south for the winter.
Yeah.
But it's summer, so I don't know. They're confused. It's pretty natural in most early stage. Is that DH? Okay. It's pretty natural in early stage startups for there to be sort of a changing of the guard. A lot of the early whales were investors and different types of investors, and they all have a different sort of modus operandi, and some of them are there to support the platform and invest in developers. You're seeing some of the early whales. A lot of the whales, actually, a majority of the creator coins, I think, Prosper Cloud and a metric like 86% are not invested in creators. And a good chunk of those are from early whales who are happy to hold long-term, and they'll kind of operate in the shadows. So there's a couple companies that have raised, millions of dollars on top of BitCloud already, which is exciting. We got to participate in some of those too, and help put some of those rounds together. So that's been exciting to see. So a lot of the whale activity, you don't see it on bitcloud.com. The whale activity you do see on bitcloud.com, it's for the most part, from what I can tell, individuals who have, on the order of thousands or tens of thousands of BitCloud, which is a meaningful sum, hundreds of thousands to millions of US dollar equivalents. And, trying to figure out how to use it. And we've seen some creators come in too, some meaningful creators and celebrities put in, sort of on the order of $1 million. And I think it's natural for people to churn on any consumer product. I think in the case where there's money involved, if you're depositing money and then taking it out, then you have the ability to make a profit. In this case, it's super unique because there's this bonding curve mechanic, and it's possible to get in and generate a huge return and leave. But I think that we're only scratching the surface right now. There's still, call it sub 1 million active funded accounts. So that's the metric I look at. We're still in the building phase, right? This is still, I don't know, whales are not extinct, but I think there needs to be a much richer ecosystem to support the next level of scale. And so I think the thing that I care most about, I know I've said developers a lot, but the dev team, it's very rare for any project that I've seen for the team to consistently ship as they said they're going to. and the follow through and momentum has just been phenomenal here. So I think that gives me the confidence to say, oh wow, like if they said they were here, then they said we're going to be here and here and here, and now they've done that, and maybe that's just a small 3 months of snapshot of the entire product roadmap, but those are the kind of things that inspire a lot of confidence. A lot of things are still broken. We talked about the scrolling in the feed, but for Whale specifically.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Andy.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just one more thing that I think we've talked about a lot. I haven't heard you talk about it, but it's been is that big creators coming on the platform, say a Beyonce or say a Madonna, and is there too much asymmetrical risk for someone like Madonna to come on, and people say, "Hey, Madonna, I invested $10,000 in you, and I lost 5,000. I lost my college tuition because of you. I hate you," right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, you said it perfectly. Yeah, asymmetric reputational risk. I think there's a lot to lose and not much to gain right now until some of these tools get built out. So Moonbounce, I'm excited for that. There's a lot of tools in that genre of sort of creator support tools that the dev team probably won't build out, and we need a rich ecosystem to build out. So the simple thing, like Madonna, right? Is she going to share her seed phrase with her manager? Can she rely on her manager? Is her manager going to share it with a bunch of interns, like social media interns? If that account accrues, 10% founder reward and 50 million people invest, like some social media intern's going to have access to $5 million worth of Madonna coin. And then that, the rugging, all the nuances we talked about of like all the inside knowledge we have, that's just so nuanced around the culture of BitClout to communicate to someone.
Yeah, when I look at it, like, I understand the want that people have to have the major celebrities come over, but it's almost like we're in like a clubhouse or something where it's like, I don't want, like, the wrong people can't come in here because they'll screw it all up the second they get here. And it's kind of what you said too, where it's like, you look at a big artist that's already on here, they go on to their normal social media and post, look at Tory Lanez. Like, I always use him as an example. Like, if Tory goes over to YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, like, it's instantly like 100,000 people showing up like the second he posts. Whereas over here, he got like 12 likes the other day on his brand new song that had a huge, feature on it. And that was just kind of an eye-opening moment where like I reclouded his post and it got like 40 likes. All of a sudden it was like, that's not going to work for him. And like, it's
really interesting.
Yeah, it's a new frontier though. I think like that's one thing that a lot of people like about I felt like I liked about it was like I came over and like I could post and like people actually saw what I was posting. I wasn't getting like overshadowed by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg like on my timeline. Like people could actually see my post for once. And I am nervous of like long term how that. I think it's on us to figure out the ways that it plays out. But I think that like I talked to Jake about it the other day. Like I almost like on the Nacho average node, I think it would be cool to like give everyone a blue check. Like you have to, whether it's ID verification or whatever, it's like you just have to compete. Like if you can prove you are who you are, like it's just competition. Everyone's, on the same level. And then you can't really buy your way to the top of the timeline. Like people either like your content or they don't, and you got to figure out better content to put out. But because I've been doing, data from the side of like running ads and tracking, which song do I have that people actually resonate with, as opposed to like, I like this song, but they don't. And so I'm just wasting money by trying to pump it more. And I kind of see BitClout as the same way. You can look at your posts and see what works and what doesn't. And anything you do against those numbers, you're kind of swimming upstream.
But there's so many factors too, right? Sorry, go ahead, Will.
No, I was going to say, well, Clay touched on something that I think about a lot is that, right now we have we're afforded the luxury of being in somewhat of a medium-sized fish in a small pond. What happens when Dre shows up? Clay, what happens when Banksy shows up and no one cares who William Laurent is, right? Or who CloutPhoto is. So, now is the time we do have that luxury to experiment to build those followers, right? And before that floodgate happens and we do get those huge names, but I do get nervous about that.
I think that's where, like, well, for my node, like when Dre shows up, like he'll just be another verified account. Not that people won't flock to Dre because they already know his name, but that's what he's earned. And from this point forward, though, like it'll have to be solid content or it won't trigger. And I think like I kind of take the method of like how I play on like slot machines, and that like if I find a slot I want to play, I play like 3 to 5 times. And if it doesn't hit within those 3 to 5 times, you are literally wasting money. If it hits any time in those 3 to 5 times, like stick around for another 3 to 5 times. And if you'll know whether it's consistent or not. But I think it's the same way you make your posts. Like, if you like something and you think it's great and people just missed it, run it again. And, run it up to even 5 times, not in the same day, but spread it out over time and see how people respond. And if people don't respond, that is not your best work. And you've got to just follow the numbers that are in front of you.
Right.
And I think like for me, like, for sustainability, like I do like, my buddy helped me come up with this, but it's like the 5 pillars. And so I base like all of my content, like you can step outside of the pillars, but like if you want to stay consistent and have something to draw from, you just pick like 5 pillars of what your content's based on. So like mine is like music, my life, inspiration, dogs, and then sports like basketball. And it's like, so if I don't have anything to post, I can always go back to my 5 pillars and pull something from that's usually relevant in whatever I'm doing that day. And that gives you the ability to not have to like fry your brain trying to come up with stuff all the time.
So CloutPhoto, what works for, because you have a lot of different styles of photographers, and I'll go through and I'll be like, oh, I like this, and not so bad, I like this, and like, what do you find resonates? Is it like old retro black and white stuff? Is it like colorful, like hybrid digital stuff?
It's so interesting actually, because some of them that are just like my favorites, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like there's no way that like not everyone in the world is going to love this. How could you not love this? And so I'll post it and it's just like crickets. And I'm like, what? And I think, there's just, I'm trying to find the balance, because it's part of it is the work. I am a little stubborn, so I try not to pander with what I post, even though I probably should. But I try to really just post, what I love. But I'm also trying to balance it because it's BitClout photographers and I want to give everybody an opportunity. So I'm trying to also not exclude people. So I'll try to post, some that are maybe not my personal favorites, but I do want to, give an emerging artist an opportunity to sort of just get their work seen, because if it's not my favorite, maybe it's somebody else's style, right? My style isn't like the end all be all. So I try to find the balance. And then I've noticed also there's just sort of like luck of the draw, like, there's timing I've noticed. So I'm trying to track a little bit, like also the timing, like when do things do well? Because I might post something that's like so in my opinion, that goes, everybody loves, and another one that I think is fantastic that just sort of falls on deaf ears. And I think part of it is the timing, part of it is the audience, part of it is the timing of the audience too, right? Because there's a different audience, for the US than for Europe, than for, Australia. And so it's sort of, I'm trying to factor in everything. And it's just sort of, I play with it. And I admit I play with it a lot. Sometimes I put quotes, sometimes I just put a photo, and I'm just trying to feel out what people want and what gets these photographers seen,
It's harder.
What do you guys
too,
like? Tell me.
It's harder in the small pond we're in too. It's a lot more pressure to, especially if you're having success. Like I feel it on the music side where it's like, I'm a hip hop artist. I really only listen, I listen to everything, but on the daily, like hip hop is what I would prefer to listen to. So I get a lot of pressure with Clout Records to share, music that I don't even listen to sometimes. And it's always a balance of like not diluting the brand, but at the same time, being supportive in a smaller community.
Exactly. So, and it's hard as artists to not sort of just like to follow your heart, right? And to just, it's hard as an artist to not just put out there what you love and just like kind of be vulnerable and sometimes it works, and you know, sometimes it doesn't.
I think certain brands are built for more of the community aspect. Like Clout Records, like the more I've started to think about it, it's like I do want to support multiple genres more than just hip hop, but at the same time, after making like 2 playlists, like I'm definitely going forward, like picking, you know, curating what I really believe Clout Records would want to get behind, not just because I don't want to dilute the experience for artists that we do co-sign because it'll make it mean less. So I'm thinking
Right,
maybe I would
exactly.
need another page for just supporting artists in general. But
That's a
it is
little
tough.
bit like what I've done. Yeah. With millimeters, right? So CloutPhoto is my community project. It's just all BitClout photographers and just getting them out there. But millimeters, that's where I get to be like, okay, well, I like this. And so this is what
Yeah,
I'm going to show you. And it's different because that's my business. And I feel like I have the right to do that. And, you know, for the community, it's sort of just a different balance.
yeah, yeah. It's
That
What do
is
definitely
y'all? A question for
like,
you all. Go ahead, Willie.
no, so, you know, I mean, Clay has many projects. I have a few different projects. Christina has a project. So you know, when I want to invest in people or I'm looking for a synergy or an ally or a friend, I also want to see what else they're doing on this. You know, what are they doing for the community as far as engagement? That doesn't just mean, you know, Me Too post or, you know, it means, are they, you know, a judge in a contest? Are they helping curate? Are they doing something else where they can monetize, you know, put some money in their pocket and help the community? So, you know, I think I think that aspect is really you know, important too. Is your way forward here as an artist is you better have, I think, multiple dimensions that you can get into.
Agreed.
Well,
Well, yeah, go ahead.
a question for the three of you. I guess I wanted to talk about the idea of modern day patronage and commissions, and how do you like, because BitClout is an ideas marketplace to a certain extent, which makes it unique relative to other social media. How does that perhaps impact, affect, or even bastardize the work that you may put out on BitClout in terms? I know, Christina, you mentioned the word pandering. Is there some incentive to create art that is attractive for
I'm
investment on this
getting
platform?
lucky. I'm getting lucky in that aspect. And they're like, I will say, like, everything I've done to this point has just been like completely natural. Like, if you go back and look at even what I've done before this, like, I've been asked a million times to make like super commercial songs or make song, and that's part of why it's taken me so long to get where I'm at. Like when I made the Big Clout song, it was on purpose, but it was an accident. Like I didn't have a clue what I was doing at that time. And then the tattoo, like if I didn't meet Wendy, I would have never got that like that idea came from Wendy. That was just like an act of love for the platform. Like I really just was like, yo, I want a symbol, because to me it's not a logo, it's a symbol. And so I was like, yo, this is a symbol that's going to mean something to me, whether BitClout exists, you know, 100 years from now or it dies in 3 years. Like I will want to remember this time forever. And so I got lucky. I'm a horrible person to ask on that, but everyone thinks probably that I like schemed that, or I get accused of that a lot, that like I like know Diamond Hands personally. I was told the other day that I was like promised stuff by the developers and like I never got it. And I'm like, yo, I don't know. I was like, I literally never was in talks with anybody. But
I said this yesterday on our call, Clay. I hate it when people say Clay got lucky because nobody works harder than you, man. I know that. There's no
And even
luck with Clay Perry. There's really not.
I'm the 10-year overnight success.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes a lot of the time, right? I think that's also a thing about like BitClout time. People expect to be kind of like, you know, just noticed and successful overnight. And they're like, well, where's my whale? Where's my, you know, $100,000 investment? Look at me, I'm great. And what they don't realize is that people have been working, you know, for so long, every day, just at it, and then earning, you know, their attention and their recognition. Like it's rare that it comes out overnight. It happens sometimes, but usually that goes back to sustainability. That's not always, you know, sustainable.
When we
And,
drove
you
off the
know,
lot, like one of the coolest memories I have from the tattoo thing is I looked at Chet and Luca, And I was just like, man, I'm like, it just hit me all of a sudden where I was like, dude, I did this for the love. I was like, I didn't do this for money. I was like, cause I remembered that people had gotten the tattoo for money. And so I was like, no offense to them. I'm like, but I realized like no one offered to pay for this. I paid for this with my own money. Like, I just wanted this tattoo. And I was just like having a realization of how cool that was. And then like day after, it was, so I'm so glad I said that when I drove off the lot, because now I can look back and know, like, without a shadow of a doubt, like I definitely had not one thought that there would be an investment. Like I cried that night. Like I was so like shocked. Just, it was like life changing to have that moment. But I do feel bad to anyone that thought they were gonna get some major investment and just wailed in after. Like, it was probably not the best idea. Or aped in. I don't know if they wailed in.
Mhm.
I mean, just to touch on Andy's question really quick. I mean, I think for me, the diamonds was a game changer because, there are some days I'll get a few cents. There are other days where I'll get $10, $15 in diamonds. And I'm thinking, wow, I have 3,600 followers. What happens when I have 36,000? What happens when I have 300,000? And I see the potential here, right?
Exactly.
And, that's for me, like, I love my investors. I appreciate, but, I'm more here for, I feel I'm more here for the community, and if I can monetize in creative ways that don't require investment, classic investment per se, I think that's great. And I think a lot of artists feel that way. And diamonds are huge, and NFTs, well, let's see what happens, right?
So you're
I
more.
have a question. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
You're more. So that's kind of consistent with what you said earlier, that you're more interested in looking at followers, reach distribution, and then diamonds as a form of income as opposed to investment.
I have to think big picture, right? So after the last 10 years of telling my students and working mostly in a non-art field, don't be on social media, get off. And now here I'm coming back into the social media world saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back as an artist, is being able to get as many eyes as possible on anything I create. And I just reopened up my Facebook. Like, it's just like, for me, followers is the most important thing. I mean, the monetization will come, or, I'll get a gig as an art director, something like that. But it's just getting known again as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered the question. Sorry, Andy. I don't know.
No. I guess I'm curious about, like, this platform is just simple technology. I shouldn't say simple. It's very complex. But you have a creator coin, you have a Twitter clone, you have a profile. What is it about this constitution of features that was inspiring to you, William, to say, I want to go all in and get back into my art, and Clay to, spend so much time, and Christina, likewise, like, Twitter didn't do it, Snapchat didn't do it, Tumblr didn't do it. There's many, like, something about this unique.
Honestly,
I'll tell you.
This was the first to market, Andy. This was the first to market. There might be, and I'll be committed to this platform. I've taken a lot of risk. I put a lot of money on this platform, my own money, and I will continue on this platform. There might be other platforms that come up that I'll be hitting those as well. But, this was the first thing out there, and I'm hoping that I made the right decision.
For me, I was super inspired from the minute I saw it, and I was never on social media. And my husband showed me BitClout, and for 2 days I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't want to hear it. And then day 3, I finally sat down and he showed me, and I was instantly, it lit something inside of me. I think it was the accessibility to all these emerging, unknown, but super creative people from all over the world who are just sharing themselves, sharing their work, just putting it out there. And I was just scrolling, and I was like, but these people are amazing. And, maybe this one's from Ukraine and this guy might be from like Connecticut. And, they're just here. They're just openly sharing their work. And for me, that was what really hooked me. It was just beautiful. And for that, I created CloutPhoto because I love photography. And I was like, all right, well, here's my little passion project, my little niche, and that's just kind of what happened. And millimeters came from it, actually. I was like, okay, well, I better make a business out of this if I'm gonna, do it. If it's gonna keep going, I better find out, and I love it. It's been great. It's been really
For
great.
me, for me, it was just timing and being in a position in my career where like I felt like everything I had ever done just kind of balled into one thing. And I had just learned day trading like last year during the pandemic. Like I had like been learning everything about the blockchain that I could learn. I was into NBA Top Shot, so I understood NFTs. And like then with my music career, like the running ads was working for me, but it was going to take, at the pace I was going, like it's going to take quite a bit of time. And the amount of money you have to spend to reach global, on Facebook and reach global on Twitter and all these other places, Instagram, like it's a lot of time and money that goes into that. And I was having a lot of success with global, like a global community, much more than I was having in the US. Um, so when I came to Big Clout and there was no firewall as to getting to like someone from the Ukraine or someone from, Australia or Indonesia. Like it was just, that's why even on
Amazing.
the Nacho Average call, it was like, we literally have an opportunity to connect people from like every part of the world. It's like, when have we ever really had this like freedom? And so I just played in it where it was just something I never experienced where, and I think also too in the timing, like I had never been so early to a place with the kind of impact I could have here, where it was like, we can make this thing positive. Like if we speak up loud enough and we lead this thing the right way, I don't think
Exactly.
it'll last forever necessarily, but it can, in that we can build things on top of this that can be positive and be built with intention to not screw people over and steal their data from them and use it against them. And
Well, it's like a tree with all the branches that can come out of it that, can go
yeah,
in every direction. I
yeah,
have
I
a
just kind of saw
question.
it as like the moment to finally do things the right way.
Yeah, I agree. I have a question, Andy, for you. If you could tell emerging creators and artists who are, just out there wondering, how to succeed here, tell them like, what's the one thing you would say, like, here's the one thing you totally should do, and the one thing you should definitely never do. Do you have anything like on the top of your mind that comes up?
Interesting. In like to succeed in the next 30 days or in the next like 30 to like 3 years?
However you want to interpret it.
Yeah, well, I guess there's an answer, which is, how do you conform to the current culture? There's another answer I think William was alluding to around like, what's the bigger opportunity for creators? Um, I don't have an answer on the top of my head.
Okay.
I think, yeah, my one answer is find a tribe, find a clan within. Clout Mafia, that was something I participated in the other day, and I've joined a group on Telegram that's like about a dozen or so folks, and I spend some time in the Discord, and so I've kind of found comfort in sort of these smaller groups. I think you've got this sort of unfiltered, decentralized, open pavilion, which is Big Cloud, and it's easy to get lost and confused. And so I think Nacho Average, like these communities, these sub communities that exist can be really powerful. So if there's anything I'd say, is find one of those. I think that's the most important thing anyone can do, just to sort of learn the ropes and find mentors and people, allies, collaborators.
It's really great advice. I mean,
Yeah,
are there any deal breakers
absolutely
aside
don't
from
do.
the obvious? Yeah, like definitely don't do this. Is it maybe, I don't know, it could be anything. It's a little open.
Yeah, well, I guess to the point about everything being on chain, definitely don't say anything, toxic that you will regret, that will be maybe used against you. I think people are optimizing their behavior for the current Big Cloud, but because everything's on chain, there will be a reputation score at some point. Some node will create a reputation score, and I hear a lot of demand for that. So that's going to be a function of all your behavior. And I'm sure there will be sentiment analysis around your posts. I'm sure there will be, mapping of who's bought your coin and whose coins have you bought, and are they bad actors or good actors. So, I wouldn't say definitely don't, but it's just the advice of like the sort of shadow of, be mindful that everything's being recorded. So, try to be a positive citizen and know that like eventually, that will probably be reflected somehow. So
Good advice.
yeah, definitely don't forget that everything is on chain.
Exactly. Even if you delete it, it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one aspect that I think can keep this place more positive than usual. Is just the accountability people feel like they're under. It's kind of a good thing that people have to be, held accountable for their actions. Like, should be that way. And I feel like that's one thing I noticed really early on here is like people mind their manners a lot more when they know that they're being recorded.
So it's an honor to interfere. We have gone for 45 minutes, and we have some guys who wants to ask questions to you guys. And I think that first of all for Artz, because he's going to leave, and we will continue with William, Millimeters, and Clay discussing this topic further. So the first two questions are going from me. And the first one, did you figure it out some sort of formula that you use to assess accounts, and in order to ensure that this account is health and has potential of growth? So, based on that, you are making the decision to invest or not. So it will be interesting to hear for all clouders, so they will be aiming at this formula.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I looked at quite a bit of data. So some of the data I've published, followers, obviously, the age of the account, followers divided by the age. So 1,000 followers, 100 days, 10 followers per day. Followers per day is sort of a rate of growth. It helps normalize older accounts versus younger accounts. I don't want to bias against younger or older accounts. So that's one metric that helps. Coin price. HHI, which Salil published on Prosper Cloud, is sort of a diversified metric of, I say these only to say things that I try to incorporate, not as things one should optimize for. But there's nothing wrong with a high HHI score. I have one. There's nothing wrong with a low one. I will say that there's a difference between when you're making a smaller investment, it's easier to just find a few heuristics to be able to make a small investment versus when you're making a larger investment. I'll want to spend more time and do more research and get to know the person, develop a relationship. So, fortunately, those are qualitative things that one can control, and they're not. The quantitative piece is more around. It's really around downside protection. It's how do you avoid investing in someone who's a scammer, connected to a scammer, or just potentially going to lose money right away, right out of the gate. So loss of principal. I'm not really looking. I don't really think of myself as a creator coin investor in terms of investing in coins and speculating in the short term, because that comes at the expense of someone else, right? It's sort of the bonding curve is harsh reality is that it's zero sum. So if somebody else comes in and I take out profit, then it's at their expense. So I'm not really thinking about it like that. I'm just thinking about like, how do you find an account that's, that's reputable, and what does reputable mean? That's a tough question for me to try to answer, but those are some of the metrics I'm looking at.
Yeah, thank you very much. And my second question is about, do you consider your investments in BitClout as a portfolio? So you maybe have some pools like meme accounts, like digital artists, like community builders, and so on and so forth, or you just looking into the account achievements and its performance?
Right now, it's somewhat haphazard and random. I'm trying to bring more structure to it through the use of data. I'm really excited for BitClout Pulse when they launch sort of their equivalent of, thematic investments where you can basically say, hey, let me invest in the top 100 most followed musician accounts. But that's a little tricky because how do you label someone a musician? A lot of people are multidimensional and have a lot of different sort of offerings. So it's clearer when a celebrity joins. Michael Jordan joins, okay, NBA. It's less clear when it's, who is Clay Perry? Is Clay Perry an entrepreneur, a musician, an artist? What bucket do they fall under? So, yeah, I don't invest that way now, but I think Big Clout Pulse is working on some feature like this to help. And I'm not so sure I've ever found that grouping useful in the investing world of maybe to a certain extent that allows you to compare one against each other, but yeah, then that's where we go down a rabbit hole of starting to view, people as commodities and comparisons. Like if you want to basket all artists into one group and say like, okay, who are the top performing artists on Big Cloud? I don't know if I subscribe to that ideology.
I'm
Well,
curious.
thank you very much.
Can I ask a question on top of that?
Sure.
So like with like investment firms, like do you see, because coming from the music side, like the way the artist is always financed, their record or whatever they're doing is through a record label, and it's a loan that's usually given out, a horrible loan. Do you see investment firms in the future being more involved on the creative process as much as just not even directly investing into a coin? Because like how you said, like it's weird looking at my future where it's like, do I partner with a VC in the side of like, you're kind of buying into everything that I do. And it's like, you get the music, you get all these different, assets that you're a part of, or do you see, how do you see that going in the future?
Yeah, I think anything and everything we can do to create, even though it's decentralized, to create more trust, I think will facilitate more investment. You bring up a good point, and there's a famous entrepreneur in the crypto space, SBF, who has Alameda Research and FTX and Solano, and those are different cap tables, and and he's been very, very clever about keeping them separate. And so on Big Clout, there's sort of an analogy where do you have different projects that you spin up? We talked about millimeters in your example, right? It's a different project. But then how do you decide which project gets which piece of artwork that you publish? Perhaps like if you have different genres, I think it's a little tricky. But in all businesses that we invest in, it's making sure there's alignment between the investor and the creator, setting expectations correctly. I think there will be a lot of controversy when we find the first Big Clout, the first Big Clout Taylor Swift, for lack of a better example. When somebody on Big Clout gets huge, or the next Big Clout Justin Bieber, and those investors, there's going to be a ton of controversy over, hey, does any value accrue to the creator coin, or I own 2% of this, where's my 2%, or hey, why'd you put it in this account and not that account, or all these kinds of things will certainly have our fair share of controversy. But I do think that, but I also do think there will be a new type of investment firm that is a creator coin focused investment firm that is more hands-on and that is able to, I've already seen there's a VC that raised in the tens of millions of dollars and is doing creator coin investments, and they're sort of privately messaging some of the accounts and saying, hey, can I buy in at a discount? And there'll be they'll use the send creator coin feature to sort of allow for that. And I think right now there's no expectation, or it's hands off, but there's sort of a soft, this is a 6-month lockup. So we're just starting to see the early trappings of sort of contractual language and handshakes being emerged. But you bring up a great point, Clay. I think I could definitely see that evolving over time.
Thank you very much for your answer. And I have much more questions for you, of course, but it's better to go to the audience and to hear from them what they want to ask. And maybe you will consider the opportunity to organize some sort of interview with you in the future, and we will, with Christina, manage this, because there are much more questions for you to ask. So if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will give you the floor. As far as I know, Renova had a question, so I'm giving a mic to you.
I'll if no one has a question, I'll question for Andy. I know, I think in your, I think it was an interview that you did with Maz, you had said that when you consider selling a creator coin, you don't want to move the market more than 30% in that coin. And that sort of stuck with me. Like, I thought that was an interesting statement. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, I thought that was considerate and sort of interesting. And if that's still, I guess, is pertinent to your strategy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think early on I was trading a lot more frequently, and I was, I wasn't as mindful of the fact of how harsh the bonding curve can be, and how, the idea of wealth creation is a little different here, because it required, and the speculative nature of it too, right? I think if we had seen an exponential growth in users, I think there would have been this idea that, okay, like, if I take out profits in this account, there's an exponential rate of growth that will fuel more speculation into the account. And so that's not really, there's still more and more growth to be had in these accounts. But I think now, as we've seen sort of a linear growth, the rate of investment slowing down creator coin transactions, it's more, I'm less active in selling. So when I do sell, it's usually accounts that are 30 plus days of no posts, or celebrities that haven't claimed. A couple accounts where I was a larger than 30% holding in the last couple of weeks, but I think there were, in the tens of dollars of other investors. So, maybe someone's $10 went to $5. I thought that was reasonable, given the account was a pure speculation and inactive, and maybe that $10 user churn too. So it's tough to be thoughtful about all the ripple effects of all of one's actions. I know, there was a famous account on the platform who shall not be named, but it was selling a bunch of their own holdings to fuel their own account and games being played, and that caused a lot of stress and anxiety and ripple effects. And because we're all connected on the platform and everything's on chain, to your point earlier, William, about data scientists analyzing this, there's a lot of interconnectivity between people in a way that it doesn't happen on traditional social media. So I think it's pretty mind-boggling how interconnected we all are on this platform, and the ripple effects that one's actions can have.
Thank you very much.
So
we'll have two last questions, and then we will free Andy out from this discussion. Daniel, please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my question, and sort of the idea that I've been having since I first joined, is the potential for the developing world, which is where I work, right? $350 investments in someone that lives in the developing world, right, at a 20% FR, could double their income for the month, right? And so I've been working through these numbers and really thinking of the potential here, because there's so much creativity and so much art, so much music in the developing world, that this is something that I think could really be an instrument for social good. But my question for you, and certainly I've experienced it, is the vulnerabilities. So for those that would onboard, right? And I don't know if the room is ready yet for that. I've been certainly trying to be an advocate for the potential that's there, but I'm not sure, especially in light of stuff that's happened within the last month, about the risks associated with onboarding people that live in the developing world and would join this platform and then be taken advantage of. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on on potential risks in that space and what we can do to mitigate them.
Mm-hmm. I really agree with the premise. I've done some Zooms with folks whose art I really liked on the platform, and I was surprised to find that they're from former USSR or North Africa or parts of the world where GDP and per capita income are much different. And yeah, to your point, the founder reward, and now that there's an off ramp, I don't know if blockchain.com is the right off ramp in every country, but at least the existence of one in the OTC market to Bitcoin means that there's real, if one is sophisticated, there's real possibility of earning a living there. So that's super empowering. That's really exciting. The vulnerabilities, I guess I read it two ways. One, there's the vulnerabilities of any new user on BitClout and the fact that the platform's not localized in different languages yet, and just the sort of steep learning curve. The other one, which I'm not sure if you're alluding to, is we see this in sort of lower income communities where there's sort of these arbitrage opportunities exist. Think about debt consolidation firms. They're effectively boiler rooms that hire hourly workers to, sort of the predatory firms in the sense, or there's some door-to-door sales companies that hire people without college educations or high school educations to go door to door and make effectively minimum wage, while these sort of overlords sort of capture all the profits. So where my mind went when you asked the question is, if selling some certain type of NFT is very lucrative, or let's call it like selling portraits of your dog on BitClout becomes really popular, I could see some aspiring entrepreneurs setting up effectively a sweatshop of people that can manually create those and maybe arbitraging them and people not knowing the difference. So I think there is a economic benefit to being a savvy user of BitClout and applying that in the developing world. Do I think people will take advantage of that information asymmetry? Absolutely. Do I think they will potentially profit maybe more than they should from other people's work as a result of exploiting that? Yeah, absolutely. So that's a vulnerability for sure. But I think the more that doesn't have to exist. Those individuals who may or may not be being exploited can come onto the platform and have their own voice. I think once as it becomes more accessible, as it becomes more localized, hopefully those things make it possible.
Okay, the last question.
Yeah. Yes,
Arnaud, please.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to cheer you, Alex, for hosting this amazing debate, giving value to the community. And I want to give a big hug for all the speakers, friends, Andy, Clay, Christina, William. And my question is so simple, is how we, the Europeans that have so many things to say and to share, and we are totally lost in this world, you are engaged in cryptos, how you, which are embraced in this decentralized revolution with DeFi, with cryptos, with this empowerment, gamifying all of us, restoring our lost value, basically, how you can help the Europeans, we are totally lost on cryptos, on this world, to succeed and to accompany you in this revolution. A question for all of anyone who wants to give me a response. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, well, I guess the question for you is, Europeans is a somewhat global statement. Are yours from Spain, is that right?
Yes, it is. From Barcelona, yes.
Barcelona, right? So Spanish people or French people, they're very different. Italians, Germans. And there's different pockets of crypto in all across Europe. I think I'd be curious about your question, your thought on what is unique about Europe that you don't see or that you're seeing is lacking relative to the rest of the world that's adopting crypto.
It's about that the empowerment the crypto gives to the human being to being in relationship with his community, empowering the community. What we are doing here, it's so lost here in Europe. People are so divisive. People, the crypto world is only accessible for higher classes. It's not for people to be empowered, to for these creators, that have something to say, to contribute to the society, and the strong power is prosecuting them. So, well, it's we need to embrace these two views. So the financial view, this world is growing, because they are two very different worlds. You told, no, Portugal, Spain, Italy. It's Roman Catholic. You are it's more a slave view that the Protestant evangelists, this kind of
No, I'm sorry
Christians.
to interrupt you, but
My question is so
the
simple:
time
how
is short.
can help those unempowered Europeans who want to be empowered with the cryptos, with this decentralized revolution, because it's much needed for not only for us, for all the world. So simple.
I'll take a stab first. It's interesting because you're saying that coming from Spain, and yet in Argentina, in Colombia, we're seeing strong use cases, basically to side skirt government currency. That's not a problem in Europe with the euro. The euro is a relatively stable currency. So one main use case of crypto isn't as interesting, doesn't apply. I'd be interested, I don't know the answer to this, but maybe there's some aspect of risk appetite and how Europeans participate in the stock market relative to Americans and other parts of the world. Maybe there's less retail participation in the markets, and maybe that's a function of the history of America is a much younger country, and a lot of them, Southeast Asia is really embracing crypto, and it's a much younger culture as well. Latin America is really embracing it. So that's one thought of it. The main use case of stable currency is maybe not as interesting. The other one would be, a lot of, to your point on the elites are using it to get ahead. I think that's spot on. A lot of what's going on in DeFi is leverage to speculate on crypto, and people, over collateralized loans is effectively what you get on Compound or Aave. You post 150% collateral to get 100% of a different currency. That does not help someone who doesn't have a huge coin balance in the first place that they can leverage against. The opposite of a mortgage in the US, you post 20% collateral to 20% down to get access to 80% leverage. So debt is a really powerful thing that can help people improve their economic conditions. So I think until we get better on-chain credit effectively, where you can get under collateralized loans to actually get ahead, that will give people, the common people, access to these insane yields on crypto. That's a problem that's exacerbating some of the inequality, that people who have access to a large starting balance then can grow it very quickly and rapidly. And the thing that we don't want to see is the one-to-one mapping of the existing power structures in the traditional world over onto the crypto world. Ideally, we want to see some redistribution and some change, and reimagining of the world in the way that we want for the 21st century. So that's the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Andy, for joining us and being open to discuss this very important topic for artists and all creators on the platform. And it was a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thank you, Christina, William, Clay. Great
Thank
chatting
you.
with all of you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
Andy.
Bye.
Talking to you.
See y'all.
So we can
Well,
continue
hello.
our discussion with William, Christina, and Clay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Clay, you want to tell us a little bit more in depth about your 5 pillars? Because I love the philosophy, but I would love to hear more, like, how you apply it and the thought behind it, and
Yeah,
just break it down for people.
So some days is easy and some days is not so easy. And on the days that aren't so easy, it's kind of like as how I make music in the same way, in that it's kind of like knowing who you're picking 5 influences. It's just kind of things you're influenced by, things that are relevant to you or that you're an expert in. If you're an expert in something, that definitely is one of your pillars and a great thing to have. But you just kind of you draw back on the 5 different topics. For me, I remember reading a book called I think it's called Steal Like an Artist, and it's basically just telling you to acknowledge your influences. And the more you acknowledge your influences and pay homage to your influences, the more aware you are of where the magic's coming from. And it's like a gold mine that you can just continue to go back to. And so, I think when it comes to putting out good content, the goal, especially in the place we're in right now, is like being able to put up as many good shots as you can put up a day. And you don't want to just burn posts and just post to post, because that's not working for you or the people that are watching you. But I think, and people can see through that. People can tell when you're just saying something to try to get likes and reclouts. But
yeah, exactly, that's the pandering.
yeah, it's like you have to have, and there's a way to like brand yourself to where people expect that the different content from you, and so you can pander in a sense, and that what your people like, so you want to feed them what they like, but you do it in a way that is sustainable and consistent. And that, like, if you just posted off your 5 pillars a day, like, say, for someone like me, I have nothing but time for Big Clout. But the average user probably has a job, has all these different things that they're trying to maintain, and a family. So it's not as easy for them. And if you can just kind of plan out throughout your day, 5 pillars to go off of I want to make sure, if you're an NFT artist, I want to make sure I post, some type of graphic or art that I've, made. And knowing that you can get ahead and get, 5 done in a day, knowing that you're going to have days where you just don't have anything, you made that day. So you want to go off of what you already have.
Right.
If it's your dog, make sure that you're going throughout your day taking pictures when it makes sense to take pictures, and use those to drop back to when you need something, and just vice versa on anything else that you're really doing. You want to be able to just kind of pull from one of those pillars. So for me, it's like basketball is one that on Big Clout doesn't work as well. Like, if you see me post about basketball, it's just because I wanted to post about basketball, and I'm really on Big Clout, I wouldn't even call that one of my pillars. I tried at one point, doing giveaways, and they worked really well on some of the giveaways. And then, like, I wanted to give out books. I was like, I'm gonna give out an Audible book, once a week, and like that failed. Like no one showed up for my book giveaways, and so
Really?
I was like, okay, and I'm like, maybe someday, like, I might run it out there again. But I did like 3, and none of them worked. And so I was like, okay,
Interesting,
clearly
huh?
we're not a bunch of readers here. And like, so I won't continue to push that. But NBA Top Shot giveaways, the same on Twitter, they work wonderful for me. On Big Clout, I was for the amount of people that I was getting engagement from, I couldn't see the value of what I was giving away. And so I had to draw back on that. Which someday it may be completely different, but I've had to just kind of test the water and trial and error. And, I found, like, for me, gifts work really great. Like when I make the, art that moves, like, or however I make it, people tend to like that. Posting songs has worked great for me here. But yeah, it's just finding what works for you. And then once those, core things that are working for you, just, stick to those. Don't think, you don't have to go too far outside of that. I think when you do, it should just be for fun, and you shouldn't worry about the numbers you get back. But when you stick to those
Exactly.
pillars, those should be your money makers.
Right. That really makes a lot of sense, because every now and then you just want to post something that you are just having fun, regardless of how it lands, but
And it
without
takes
hurting
the
your
pressure
brand.
off
It's
that
like a
too. So
balance.
you actually start having more creativity to post as well, because you don't have to think about it as much. It's like you said, I want to post this because I like it. So you post it. You're not worried about the numbers. And that kind of allows that creativity to flow more.
And I think people respond to that eventually. I think they feel that, even if it might not land in the moment, in the long term, the essence of it might actually land.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will?
Yeah, so we discussed this a little bit yesterday about sticking to what I call core values. And if I posted some of my music, some of the things that I recorded 10, 20 years ago, which I think are pretty good, but I think if I started posting that right now, people would be confused. Maybe when I have 100,000 followers, but
Right.
right now, what I came onto this platform as was an artist slash writer, actually a writer that I think sometimes takes good pictures that makes interesting paintings, and that's what I need to stick to for right now. But yeah, so the what Clay calls pillars, I call parameters, but we same sort of thing, right? um Sort of like, I mean, Christine, like I see that what you post on CloutPhoto, what you curate, it's still within parameters. Like, you don't have a lot of digital altered stuff. I mean, some of that is in there, right?
A
But it's
little bit,
not
yeah, if it's
a
really,
little
yeah.
bit, right? A little bit, or it can be, we talked about before about one of the artists that you like a lot is they would take a regular photo and put watercolors in, right? So, I mean, the core
Exactly.
value is still the photograph, right? Still the photographer's
Always.
vision and snapping that a picture. And there might be alterations on top of it, but
Exactly.
if CloutPhoto started posting, I don't know, more digital stuff, I think people would be confused. And a lot of the core people whose work that you post, mine or Sam Harin or someone might also be like, wait, hold on, that's, and you would
Exactly.
alienate maybe us as artists that you post but also represent on your, in millimeters. So
And it
yeah.
wouldn't be true to me, which for me is the most important, right? Because if it's clout photo, it's about photography, and it can be any kind of photography, but it's got to be about that one art, because that's what it
Right,
is.
right.
Otherwise, it would be clout digital art or clout, something else, right? But yeah, but there's so many kinds of photography. But at the same time, like I think about it, like I'm not gonna post, like if I started posting like snapshots of cats, right? That would be off brand, even though I love it, So those
Yeah,
are my parameters.
I would read, if you did a newsletter of cats, cute cats, I would ape into that, definitely.
Okay, well, I'll announce it now, everybody. We'll have a cat day on Photo.
That's
So send me your cat pics, man. We'll do it all
that,
day
That's
long.
one thing I love about having Nacho Average is I created an umbrella that I can slide other things under that umbrella, but they don't. Nacho Average is just kind of the parent creative brand, whereas everything,
Right.
if it were like photos, it would be like Cloud Photo is the parent brand, but then you can make cat photos and you can make whatever under it, where it's like those things are just
it's
owned by the same parent brand, but you can kind of do whatever you want to do.
it's true. It's true. As long as it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. At least to you. It doesn't have to make sense to everyone.
Yeah, like well, and even like with Nacho Average, like people thought Nacho Average was the call, and it's like Nacho Average is the call, but it's also that's the top of the food chain, which is Nacho Average, and then the call is just somewhere down here amongst many other projects.
Right. Right, right.
But I
slightly
did that because I
slightly off
wanted
topic.
to. I knew I had to like make something like that because of how structured everything was here. It was like we needed like a creative way to like break the rules and kind of do whatever the hell we wanted to do.
Absolutely. It inspires it. That's what, inspires creativity, right? When you feel a little like loose. Go for it, Will.
No, just thinking about cats and if you Google cats eating, if you YouTube cats eating watermelon, they really like watermelon, by the way. I don't know, there's a bunch of videos, but um, I remember in the first month, just to sort of bring the call back around to creators and getting investors, is that Christina and Clay will remember in the first month, all the conversations, all the posts were like, this is how you get investors. This is how you show value. This is what you need to do. And everybody was like, oh, I'll do a Zoom call for my investors. And I'll do a newsletter for my investors. And really, no one gives a shit. No one has time, right? you know, like, you know, what Clay did with Nacho Average was, you know what, let me do something for the community, right? What I'm, you know, what I do a lot of times with my art, just for the heck of it, I'll do like 64-bit digital like portraits of people. I'm not charging money, just boom, let me do this. So my strategy is, let me do what I can do for the community. And you know, the investors, if they want to come aboard, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. I'll still be able to monetize. I'll still be able to find my way forward. But that whole idea of yeah, I'll do a newsletter about this and that. And I remember Olmsted and I think back in May, discussing this and saying, to come back to cats, I'd rather have a newsletter of cute cats than, you know, a newsletter about okay, you know, here's the latest that happened on BitClout and blah blah, and just people scraping the blockchain over and over. It just doesn't. We're all time poor, and for someone to add value to me as an investor, it's not something I think about that much. Like, I'm invested in Clay for what he does for the community, right? I'm invested in CloutPhoto for what they do in the community. I'm invested in Millimeters because we have, you know, a business partnership, right? So those are the things that are important.
I see that as value, though. I do see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I will say I'm one of those people that probably was preaching the provide value in the beginning, because that is like one of the core like strategies I have. If there is a strategy to it, is like, where there's a void, provide value. Like, where there's a problem, solve it with value.
Right.
In whatever way, you
But
know.
value can be so many different things, right?
Yeah, it's like it's
I mean, it's so
what
broad.
you know. To me, that's kind of the 5 pillars thing too, or the 5 parameters, where it's like knowing your things that you're best at. You know, I at one point I remember going to my Instagram feed and thinking like, why would someone come to my feed? Like, what value do I bring? Like, you know, consistently every day showing up. Like, what do I do for them? And I think it's also, you know, taking things from a place of service, which you're already doing, William. You know, it's looking at things from like, what can I do for you? And it for me, my answer was inspiration. I was like, I'm regular Joe, like showing you how, you know, if you don't give up, like you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Sometimes you got to make your own way, but you know, that was how I felt when I looked at my page. It was like, I'm just another guy that you know, is trying to figure it out, and also pass it back as I'm figuring it out. And so that's like the core thing I drive off of in my posts or anything I'm doing, is just like, how can I be more positive or more of that? And
right.
I think that could be anything for anybody, though.
Well, it can, because different people, right? It might bring value to one person and not to another. So, you know, bringing value it's extremely broad. I think it's just a translation of doing what you're good at or doing what you love and presenting that, you know, because that's going to bring value to somebody, right?
It's like when you drive data, you know, the goal of data is like when we run ads, like the goal of the data we get back is to know who is our audience, who are the people. You know, we had this idea of who listens to the music, but then who actually listens to this music, and it's not always the same. And so knowing, you know, who your target audience is huge. Your niche, that's one of the biggest issues on BitClout, is the niches haven't filled out yet. And so if you are cat photos, there's, you know, maybe, you know, 1,000 people out of BitClout right now that are even going to like or be possibly interested. They're not all on at the same time. And so if you get on, you know, or like me and Wendy were looking at like coffee art today on BitClout. And it was like, how many people on here yet are going to be attracted to this? Like, probably not that many. Long term, this is a 1 million follower page. Like, it's, you know, it's huge. It's probably 20 million followers if they're the original coffee art, you know, account. So it's like, but that niche today, they would feel like they're failing if they were judging their metrics off of what there is today, because there's just not enough people to go around yet.
Look at yeah, people that provide value, but also it, you know, raised their stature, doubled their coin price. I mean, look at bot bets. That's been an extremely well-run, fun, you know, that's been just something amazing for this, you know, community. And you know, people talk about it. outside. I just went back on Facebook. People are talking about it on Facebook. I'm talking about it on
Really?
LinkedIn. Right? Yeah. So like, you know, that kind of thing where tremendous value, and it's also helping, you know, he can monetize from that as well. Also, speaking of value, free market capitalist, you're on this call. I just wanted to shout out to what FMC is doing with Art Tank, which again is, you know, building, you know, helping artists, building a community, zero coin price, where, you know, being able to run contests, have artists showcase their work, and, you know, hopefully get a investment from Jake or one of the whales associated with it. Like that's amazing thing. Like that's an amazing thing. And maybe that won't be something that he can monetize on right away, but it's going to build his reputation. It's going to build his followers, and eventually it's going to be lucrative for him.
I think you touched on something really important there. I'm sorry, go ahead if you want to finish.
No, I just see FMC's logged in, but I guess he can't speak.
But really important thing you touched on there, which is, you know, for emerging artists and people who are just trying to get like noticed and all that, or get invested, right, and get the, you know, their coin all the way up. It's important to remember that even if you're not getting the major investments, if you're just focusing on building your brand, that's what's going, you know, to carry you in the long term. So I think
Hi,
that's
guys.
just something really important. Hi.
Good evening. When we were coming up with Art Tank, I think there was a brief moment where many artists on the platform felt a little marginalized, especially as we know Global was only pushing things like, what's your favorite book? And, you know, that type of stuff into the feed. And I know there was, I wouldn't call it a rebellion, but certainly a moment where engagement was falling off. And a lot of artists were like, we're leaving Big Cloud, or, you know, we don't want to be here. So we wanted to do Art Tank kind of to give visibility to artists who have felt, you know, marginalized by all the same things that happen on any social media. But here on Big Cloud, we can kind of, you know, we're still a small community. We can organize something. And we got, I think, 60 entries total, which was a lot more than I thought. And all the judges have turned in their scores. So we're doing things now, except Jake, but he's very busy with the clouded entries, which are also running a little late right now. So in a couple days, we should announce the 5 finalists who will then submit an original piece of work that will then again go to the judges, and we'll pick 2 winners. So that's kind of the format and how it works. And we're going to run it, you know, as many times as it seems appropriate to do. I don't know if it's going to be monthly or whatever, but this is the first one. So that's basically Art Tank.
And the fun
What I
thing
love,
about,
oh, go ahead.
about being, sorry, the fun thing about being a judge is I put in my votes, and then the other judge was like the complete polar opposite of what I picked, which I'm like, wow,
Ignorant me. I was like, you know what? Everyone kind of has a good eye. They're all going to pick the same things. And I swear each artist picked almost exclusively different entries, which I love. It's great. I mean, I can't wait. The whales, let's see if they agree with the artist or they go different too. But it was pretty interesting to see how everyone's different tastes came out for sure.
Biases.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
What I love about this and about the bot bets, like you guys were talking about, is that even the artists who don't win are still winning, because they may not get the, like, you know, the big cash prize at the end, but what they're getting is circulated and awareness, and they're getting on everybody's radar just for being included. And so that's also really great, because even if you don't, you know, win the cash prize or you're number 1, or it doesn't matter, because you've still, you know, you're getting noticed, and that's what's going to sustain again for.
Well,
you know,
what happens
for
if you
longer.
came in last place? Because that was what I was first knocked out.
No, it doesn't really matter,
I'm
because
just
you were
kidding.
in
I
it,
was just
right? No, but I know.
I'm
Well,
just
you were a gracious loser. There was one person that was not so gracious and started calling it a scam.
There was some salt, man. There was some salt over those losses. That was right. The emotions came out. That's good. That means he tapped into something. So.
Yeah.
Right.
I had someone ask me if I was going to actually compete or not for the Final Four. Like one of the competitors actually reached out and asked like if I was going to try or if I was going to hold off, like what I was going to do. I was like, I'm competing. I was like, I don't know.
Hell yeah.
I want this
Of
just
course.
Make that bread. Make that get that investment, man.
That's excellent.
Yeah, like this is not my
Alex,
house.
this is not your house?
Like I said, this is not my house. I'm at my parents' house. Hell yeah, I want the money.
But it's interesting to see also we have on this call, we have Unknown NFT, who is actually a pretty good artist and is pretty much unknown. I don't know if to speak up, but it's good to see you here. And he's going to be dropping something in the next few days that is I've seen, and it's really, really cool. So good to have you on, brother.
Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll speak up. Yeah, glad to be here. Appreciate everyone showing up as well. Nice to see you, Clay. Christina, nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I haven't ever seen you before, but I gave you a follow.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, good to see you. And yeah, I'm excited for the future of BitClout. I'm excited for NFTs, hopefully on BitClout. I can't wait to make my first official sale on BitClout with BitClout, hopefully natively on the platform. But I mean, I've definitely tried to influence, my NFT art with BitClout, and I've actually made a few sales in the past, or trades per se, with NFTs in exchange for BitClout or an investment in someone's account. So it's already happening. I'm excited to see it hopefully happening natively. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
It's going to get really interesting. And then what happens because we all have skin in this game, right? With the NFT. I mean, potentially everybody does. So is it just going to be a bunch of noise? It's going to be like OpenSea where like everybody, even if they're not an artist or a musician or a writer, like, oh, here's my NFT. And then it's just, or is there going to, I just think it's going to be chaos. I really do for a while.
It is, but that's natural. Like that's what's supposed to happen. We can't let it like get to us. That's just part of like the rollout of this thing. But I'm excited for it. I think
I'm excited too.
Are going to thrive either way.
Yeah,
absolutely. And maybe people are going to find their way in the long term too.
Sorry,
Will, what?
Cute cat NFTs. There's an idea right there.
I'm doing everything to prepare for NFTs right now. Like that's like all my focus is on, so that whenever that day comes, I'm loaded up and ready.
You're ready to go.
So guys, we have a special guest today, Andrew Miano. Who wants to
join? I don't know why I'm the special guest. I feel like this is the second time I've been a special guest. It's very exciting. Tomorrow I am the guest. What can I say tonight? I'll ruin tomorrow.
Can we bring him up here? Let's bring him up.
Andrew's like the most modest guy on the platform. He posts pictures of him and De Niro and then tries to play himself down.
De Niro's
here's the thing. When I post a photo of me and De Niro having dinner, I would be wrong to represent that Mr. De Niro and I are buddies. I just produce movies that he's in.
You're so modest.
Jeez, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's like
probably like on the other side of the camera right now. You're just hiding him from us.
Yeah.
Come on, bring him up. Where is he?
I don't think I can do that. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. That was great.
Can you call him and show us you have his phone number?
I mean, I could show you that I have his phone number, yes, but I'm not gonna call him.
Just text me his number, and then I'll believe you.
He'd be like, why are you calling me? He'd be like, who's it? Who's this? Who's this?
Yo, I'll trade you a music number that you want for De Niro.
Yeah, all right. I want an athlete.
You should NFT his phone number.
I love that.
Yeah, this is
You would be a legend. You know that would go viral if you were the guy that started NFTing the famous phone numbers that you have. That would, like, if you're ready to go.
I didn't use.
Never work again, but
Yeah, if you're
I was
ready to
gonna
go out
say,
with a bang, though, like that would be the way to do it.
I was going to years ago, I did not have a password on my phone because I just could never remember it and I didn't want to do it. And finally I was like, I better put a password on this phone because I use code names, but like they're not really code names. Like it's not hard to figure out who people are. And I'm like, this would be bad if my phone got out. Not that people change their numbers all the time, but yeah, I would never work again if I did that. But what an art show that would be.
We'll do it'll be a retirement party. We'll do it like that.
In a few years. I thought that was great tonight. I thought that discussion was really cool with Artz. I mean, it was an interesting sort of meetup of art and art, as in creative art, and Artz and his sort of, you know, long-term views. I mean, I think it's a lot. It's interesting because, and I'm sure it will be repeated tomorrow night with some of the questions Mark asked me. But it's funny. It's got to be a long-term view, but we need active engagement early to make sure that the thing sort of keeps going and doesn't sort of lose steam. But it really is. And I think Sandy Rose posted something today that I thought was really interesting. And I'd been talking about it at the art gallery the other day. And it's a long-term play. It really is. We are so early. And if this is going to work and be successful, I mean, things do move. Yeah, 3 months represents 3 years, whatever, however you want to look at it. But like, it's like, you know, where are we going to be in a year? And when is the right
Where
time?
are we going to be in 100 days?
Sure, but you're right. I got to look. I think tomorrow I might be at my 100-day anniversary in the next day or two. It'd be great if tomorrow was my 100-day anniversary that I'm doing my cloud forum get together.
Yeah, this is our traditional question to all speakers. So what's your message to all clouders about next 100 days?
Message to all clouders about the next 100 days?
Yep. How do you see it? And what should they?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I feel like, you know, the next 100 days is going to be, depends on like who you are. If you're the clouder that's been here as long as I have, or we're close, like 3 months, you know, I think it'll be a lot similar to how the last 100 days was. There'll be ups and downs. There'll be waves of people coming in, and we'll see more people leave. But I think each time we'll continue to see more people stay than, you know, what leaves. And I think, like, you know, I'd look out for NFTs, more exchange listings. There's going to be a lot of really big waves of people coming in because of those two things. So it's a lot to be excited for over the next 3 months, but I think also, like, we have to keep a tempered expectation and realize the blessing, honestly, of being here early, and that
100%.
the opportunities we're seeing right now won't be as abundant as the platform grows. I think that it'll be a whole new opportunity. We're in a special bubble right now.
Correct.
And we're pioneers. So because we're here early, we get that benefit, but we also get the same benefit as artists of just the creative freedom and the ability to monetize and all of these new aspects for artists. I think the artists who come in 100 days from now or a year from now, it'll continue to be less and less on the first thing of being a pioneer. You know,
very important what Clay said. And it's you know, you see people, they're like, oh yeah, let's celebrate. I got to 1,000 followers, or I got to 1,200 followers. And that's good. But do you know how much more difficult it is to go from 2,000 to 2,500, or go from 2,500 to 3,000, or I'm going from 3,500 to 3,600? It gets more and more and more grueling, right? And it doesn't matter if got here early and we're OGs. The only way that we're going to survive is to keep grinding these next 100 days. Like now, actually, even more is where you really need to, like, you know, start grinding. So what Clay said is really key, and I know you've thought this out.
I think it's the same thing.
Followers. Sorry. I still want those 15 followers. I just still want those 15 followers to get to 1,000. My self-worth is tied up on those last 15 people.
Wait, you're almost at 1,000?
I'm at 985. I'm at 980.
All right, everybody, go follow.
fucking around. Most people
Look at
here
that.
follow me.
Collectively get him there in like 20 minutes if we all said.
Most
so.
people here follow. Most people here on the Zoom actually follow me. So it's and it's fine. I'm not actually tied up in it. Christina, please, you were probably making a salient point while I was mocking how many followers I have.
What was I going to say? Oh, about the next 100 days. I was going to say a few things. The challenges or the opportunities, I was going to say, maybe it would be because as more people come on, it's going to be harder to stand out. And so we do have an advantage of being here already. We have sort of, a head start. We can keep going, we can keep building, we have an understanding of the community. But of course, as more people come in, the community is going to change, it's going to evolve, and priorities are going to shift and everything. So for new artists, I think, I would say get in there and, like everybody's saying, grind it, put your work out there, put your heart out there, put your brains out there. Like, you have to really come at it from all angles in order to really stand out and do something a little bit different, yet still true to yourself. And then I think on the flip side, some really cool stuff is going to happen because the dev community is so strong. And every day, every week, they're rolling out all these really cool new features. And so I'm excited to see what they're cooking up, right? They're cooking up NFTs, but what else are they cooking up? There's going to be all sorts of nodes, all sorts of, new things happening. And I think it's going to actually, next 100 days, we're probably going to be really exciting on that aspect too. And so as creators, it's important to stay up to date with what they're making in order to be able to take full advantage of all these new features.
I think she's on the call too. Isla Croft is sort of an interesting case study in that she was pretty accomplished outside the platform, and she's, her coming onto the platform and, sort of, as not many people know who she is, right? Just sort of like big outside coming in, and wow, now there's a new platform that she needs to network, she needs to gain traction, she needs to make synergies. So, it's really interesting to see that, to her go, her going through that process too, and sort of channeling that outside momentum now onto the platform. So
Hey, we got you to 1,000.
Anyway, hold on. Let me refresh. This is, guys, you're witnessing, this is live on YouTube forever. 1,000 followers. 1,000 followers.
Congratulations.
See? The power of community, you guys, right?
This is
That's what we're
momentous.
By the
all
way,
about.
Yeah, by the way, I'd like, I want to let you all know that tomorrow we are going to have an interview with Andrew Miana at 10 p.m.
That's me, for those of you that
We're
don't
gonna
know.
help get to 1,100 followers
10
tomorrow.
p.m. What time is that?
Woo-hoo.
10 p.m.
I believe it is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Any questions you have about being a movie producer? This is it. This is going to be the BitClout seminar about being a movie producer, or
It's gonna be like the
anything that Mark
master
Bentley
class.
wants to ask. Anything Mark Bentley wants to ask. Might be roasted, analyzed, queried.
I will
We'll
help
send in
you.
our roast.
Yes.
I think that, the next 100 days are exciting. Like everyone's talking about Coinbase. It's like, which is a more widely utilized platform, right? So, or exchange. So I think that's interesting. I think that it is continual engagement. Like, look, I pop in a Nacho Average for 5 minutes, sometimes an hour or two, generally late at night when I'm not doing anything else. But like when I was asked at the art gallery, Mario introduced me to this, I think crypto whale. I don't know. It was all like, this guy's a big deal. Beats me. There's a lot of big deals out there. But, he asked what I'm into it for. And I said, well, I don't consider myself a creator in the way I'm not creating art on a daily basis. I'm not creating music or photos or paintings or anything like that. My creation is really supporting more creators and more long-term. But like, it's been the community. I like meeting people. My job is taking me around the world to meet people. And that's what I enjoy. So especially because, I'm still somewhat stuck at home. Now I'm in Massachusetts, and I'm going to probably, after tomorrow, I'm going to disappear for a week because I haven't seen my family for the better part of months. So I'm going to prioritize my family over all of my friends here, my 1,000 friends. But I just think it's been it's been the community that's been cool. And I think it is the nodes. It is like, I look forward to not going to bitclout.com in the future. Like I look forward to going to whatever, and I still don't fully grasp what it means even. Like I think it's beyond to the people to the devs and people that understand that, or maybe to artists, like to me, like what this sort of building on top of blockchain and what this could be. I don't know. I barely know what that means.
It's exciting.
But I think it's exciting. It's exciting.
I mean, that's so important. I mean, I see the three people next to me here. I see Christina, Clay, I see Andrew. I've done one-on-one video calls with all three of you, detailed, in-depth, personal, about your life, about your families, I mean, that's amazing. Amazing, right? Now think about the connections that we've made here. So I'm looking, as you said, the next 100 days, it's almost, I think, more important to think about what happens off chain. What about these synergies and relationships and partnerships that we have been making? That is absolutely stunning.
And that goes all back to what Artz was saying about finding your tribe, right? And finding your people. And that's like the one thing he would say, to everybody out there that you should do. Find your people. Clay.
I mean, life is a marathon. While things can move quickly and Bitcoin can drop in a day, like life is a marathon. I mean, at least that's been my certainly perspective. I mean, I'm not saying you can't get rich quick, or in not just financially, but anything. But life's a marathon. Like that's always been my and I like meeting people. Like I said, I'm repeating myself, but I mean, I was on with William for 2 hours just shooting the shit. I mean, talking about different things, but like I enjoyed that conversation, and it's interesting because I think everyone's interesting. I mean, some people are interesting for 10 minutes, some people are interesting for 10 hours, like for 2 hours. It's not that everyone is, and you don't have all that much time sometimes, but like. Right. I don't know how did we get here? I meet people I really do meet people for a living. Like that's what I have done forever and ever. And that's kind of like I met half the Bits Today team at the art gallery thing, and I fucking love those guys. It was great.
That's awesome.
It was really cool to because I think that is a very exceptionally useful thing that will continue to morph and do different things, but like. I'm not on every day. I don't have time. I'm not paying attention all the time. Like that newsletter, newspaper, the CNN of BitClout, whatever you want to call it, like it is it's a daily update of what we see. And so Bro Moments also does that.
I was gonna say they're awesome too.
Yeah, I loved meeting Bits Today.
Special thanks to Bro Moments for partnering with us and providing this review of each session. Special thanks to him doing this.
Shout out.
Yeah, big fan. Yeah, and as we go along, Bits Today will be disrupted. There will be another newspaper and there'll be another Nacho, and that's all great. That's all great, what? Right? Yeah,
there'll be no more. There's only one Nacho.
There will never be another Nacho.
There'll be instead of Nacho average, there'll be, I don't know,
average nachos.
What's another food? without ripping off your brand. And that's great. And that's great for Clay, because when they have him on as a guest, he'll walk into that place and he'll just walk in like a god, So it's all good.
I think competition's good. Like the thing that I've always realized is if you're genuinely doing something, it can't be replicated. And and if it is, it won't live up. People shouldn't strive to replicate as much as innovate. And so I think someone will take what I'm doing farther someday. But at the same time, anybody who tried to do it right now, they don't even know what I don't even know what I'm doing with this yet. So it's good luck trying to pick the finish line or whatever we're competing to, because it's going to be different.
It can be complementary, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be competing. There's enough.
Exactly.
There's enough.
And I just choose Nacho as an example, but it's even music, we take the same beat and it's going to be a completely different song for you, just it'll be a completely different song for me. And anybody who's trying to replicate something else, it's usually noticeable.
You know what it's time for? You know what I just realized? And we have the fucking people to do. We have Tropics, we have MP3. Where the fuck is my BitClout remix? The BitClout song remix. Has that not happened yet?
So I have an idea of who I want to be on it. So I'm kind of
So
waiting.
you're saying I shouldn't challenge some people now to do it? Because I like that idea.
Because I have a big ass remix in mind.
Okay.
I am open to like EDM remixes and stuff like that. That would be pretty dope. Like
Well, that would be Tropics. That would be Tropics or MP3. I might,
I want to do a remix, Clay, with like steel guitar and dobro, like a true Cattle Dog remix. So,
I'm down for as far as like on the hip hop side though. I want to do I already have an idea that I'm doing for the remix, so I'm waiting for those verses to come back.
I mean, you realize the expectation is high. You've had Snoop on a track, so it better be somebody,
Yeah, it's someone pretty, but at the same time, it's still topical in that they are on BitClout. So
got
it. We got a campaign in mind, but we're building up to it.
All right, I'm gonna put it a challenge for an EDM remix.
I need to get the stems. That's actually what got the. I think that's what got Wendy's song rolling. Was I needed the stems back for the BitClout song, and then we ended up not even talking about that, and we got into making Wendy's song.
Very cool.
Which comes out this Friday.
Just real quick, just thinking about this, about competition and how it's actually a good thing. If you go to New York City, 48th Street, you have Manny's Music, you have Sam Ash, you have like all the music stores are on one street. Why? Because it's actually good that they're all, they're on one street. And then, people want that because you have people that go into Manny's and be like, I hate Sam Ash, they're asshole. It's like you need that. And that rises all ships, right? That competition rises.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to make that same example with like restaurants, for example, right? If you have one restaurant on a street, maybe you'll get some traffic, but you won't get as much as if you have 6 restaurants.
Right.
So they all lift each other up because now that's where everybody's going. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to go here one day, we're here one day. And then you're multiplying, exponentially your traffic, as opposed to being like, no, I can't have anyone near me. Otherwise, I'll lose my customers. It's the opposite. It attracts.
Yeah. Like if people know that they can go to BitClout and check out cool photographers or cool artists or cool musicians, and this becomes the place, hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's what it is right now. It's all these artists, all this talent, all these people, just out there, like putting their work out there day after day. That's what I love.
But I just posted it. I'll do that thing where we share it and everyone shares in the chat. I'll share it in the chat.
All right.
I think I've never shared it.
So we are approaching the end of our panel session, and if you would like to say something more, please. Because I know we can cover so many topics, and this conversation can be going for hours.
Yeah. So real quick, I'll just shill a couple things. So it was cool to hear Artz mention about Clout Mafia, and I'm looking again, and Christina, Clay, Andrew, Unknown NFT, you're all members. Wendy Lay is also on this. She's a member. So that's cool.
What's our secret hand signal? Clout Mafia?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is we just opened, myself and Yeet Chakar opened a Galleria a couple of hours ago. And that's also been, we're heavily involved with Clout Mafia's marketing team for that as well. And we're going to be supporting artists on the platform in a very different way than what FMC is doing. So very complimentary, but if you want more details, please reach out. But I'm thrilled with what we're doing right now on this, where the platform is going, just except for the price of the cloud. Oh well.
Honestly,
take advantage.
It's an opportunity. That's how you should see it. Is that like
exactly.
People just got a huge buying opportunity to jump in and it'll go back up, and when it does, there'll be a lot of new people that have made money that never had the opportunity to make money like that.
Yeah. You make your money in a bear market because, you don't realize how much you're taking advantage of opportunity and working hard. And then when things do go up, it's like, damn, how did I get so positioned? Well, because you were working your ass off when things were bad.
Exactly. Take this moment now to really just like lock it in so that when you go up, you're ready.
Yeah, 10
By
years.
the dip, as the kids say.
By the dip. Yeah. What are you gonna say, Clay?
I was gonna say, like, 10 years has taught me that there's many peaks and many valleys, and you just gotta be willing to ride. If you really love your craft and what you're doing, you don't even really think about that stuff. You just you're gonna be here regardless, so just enjoy it.
Exactly. That's really good advice.
The best way to be here right now is just focus on the people and focus on the relationships. You have access to people that in other platforms, they have millions of followers or 100,000 followers, 1,000 people in their inbox. Someone like Andrew, William, like, you can't get a hold of talent like that on other platforms. For someone like me to be able to, pick from their brains as much as I have. D Jesus, there's so many amazing, talented people that I've gotten to meet on the Artz. Like I literally watched YouTube videos of Artz before I ever even got to Big Clout. So to hear him like mention my, how William said he mentioned Clout Mafia, like hearing him say Nacho Average, it just kind of blows my mind.
Cool, right?
That's awesome. Cool. That's really cool.
So anyone
really cool.
wants to add something? Yeah, Christina.
Go ahead.
No, I was about to wrap it up. So if you want to say something.
Wrap it up. If you like NFT photos, I'll chill too. Go check out Millimeters.
I'd like to say big thank you to all of you joining Cloud Forum and speaking openly about different topics about artists and about your vision of the Big Cloud and what we can do and what should be done by others. And it was a great experience to have you here. I'm sure that we are making history here because it will be on YouTube and Twitch forever. So you will always have an evidence that you are an early adopter, and maybe you won't need to work so hard, as William said, because you will have an evidence that you are the one who was there in very early stage. Thank you so much, Clay. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Alex.
Christina and William for organizing this for Cloud Forum. I'm really appreciate and I'm looking forward to having more cooperations with you. And if you're open, I'm ready to give all my strengths and energy to make something new together.
Thank you, Alex. You did an amazing job with Clout Forum. I got to just shout out to you real quick. It was really great what you're doing.
Thank you. Andrew, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Alex. I'm going to drop off. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for letting me join.
Thanks,
and tomorrow night,
Yes.
if you're bored and you want to be bored by me to sleep,
I'll be there.